Hey, JC here for retirecheap.asia. If you've been following my channel now, oh, guess what? My channel, YouTube channel, just hit 5 million views.
Whoa, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. This just happened a couple days ago.
Yeah, well, big demand for a very valuable service, I think.
Oh, well, I hope so. I hope there's got to be some benefit in it.
I continue to watch your videos when I'm not in Thailand, when I want to remember Thailand and be entertained. And you can always be counted on to come up with something really entertaining.
Oh, thank you, thank you. And for you all who've been watching, you probably know who Jim is because I've done a couple interviews with you before. We've talked, had a conversation. Our conversations are always so interesting that every once in a while I say, you know, we got to fire up a camera and get some of this down. But so this is Jim. If you haven't watched any of the videos before, Jim's a friend of mine that we've known each other now for, gosh, I don't know how many years it's been now. Time's flying by.
Time, yeah.
But Jim used to be the creative art director for Disney, and we sort of met one day and hit it off, and we've had some great conversations that I've done a couple. So if you haven't seen the other ones, go back and check them out, and that'll sort of get you up to speed. But it's interesting what you said about the video, that watching it, a lot of people are planning on a retirement, and so they say, well, your videos are a way to keep me inspired, keep me focused on my goal to retire. But also I had one, and I mentioned this before on a video, that a lady wrote to me and her husband had just passed, and she says, I want to thank you for your videos. That my husband's dream was to go live in Thailand, and as he got sick and knew he couldn't go, he still watched the videos, and it was his way of living the life anyway. And she wanted to thank me and sent me this email, and it was really touching. She said he really helped make his last days. He was happy just watching the videos.
Well, you really put us right in Thailand, whether we're here or not. You drop us right inside the experience.
I hope so. I mean, that's really the goal. It isn't to sell anything, really. Yeah. It's only to provide information. And the YouTube videos is sort of like, you know, people say, you should do this and you should do that, and why don't you? And it's like, well, this is my life. I mean, really, we just turn on the camera just like we're going to have a conversation, or I'm eating, or I see something cool, we turn on the camera, and it's just sharing what my life is. It isn't about trying to portray it in a certain light or anything. And it's like, you know, if I'm happy that day and it's a good day and we got something cool to share, that's what comes out, you know. And
keep it real.
Yeah, keep it real. Yeah. Just like life, right?
Yeah, right.
Keep it real.
Yeah.
It's a good motto to live by. Keep it real.
Yeah.
And we actually had breakfast, so we got a chance to talk a little bit. But since the last video we did, it's probably been 3 years since the last video at least.
Wow.
And so let's get caught up on some of the things happening in life. You know?
Yeah, we haven't seen each other in quite a while, so this is a fun event today when we get together, because we're always in search of an interesting conversation, and you can always get one with this guy. And you know, I think one of the things we were talking about, I mean, since we haven't seen each other for a while, a lot has transpired in both of our lives. But today, one of the things that came up was staying in motion. And it's like, as long as you're alive, I think the more, I'm always saying, you know, get underway and remarkable things can happen. But if you just sit there, man, nothing's going to come at you. So I think we both agree it's like an effort to keep life interesting. And one theme that comes up, you get it and I get it, people say you travel all over the world. Have you found the perfect place to live? And my answer is yes, in the world.
This is the perfect place to live.
I'm not looking like you. I remember you as Chiang Mai guy. That's ancient history.
Yeah.
You don't live in Chiang Mai
No.
anymore, but you're underway. You're always underway and always seeking to make something more interesting, more lively, not just for yourself, but for the people that watch your videos. You're constantly exposing them to new experiences that you have, so you're pulling them along. And I think that's something important to both of us, to keep it interesting, stay underway, and you just haven't just arrived. Like, you haven't just arrived and you plunk down in Thailand and everything's going to be dandy from there on out.
No.
It's kind of, you want an interesting life, it's kind of up to us to make it interesting. Although, if your idea of a good time is to turn into a vegetable and find a comfortable situation with comfortable food, comfortable surroundings, and you want to just kick back, nap, and read a paperback, man, that's
it's a great place to do it too. And then it is, and it's hard for some people, especially as they get older. They've worked and they've done all those things of what we consider success in the West, the house, the job, and all that, the material possessions. And it's hard once they stop that to not go into like that sigh of relief. Oh, I don't have to do anything now. And maybe they do for a little while until they get bored with it. But some people don't get bored with it. Some people actually think, how much would it cost to send a container over there with my stuff? And I'm going, that's like you pull up ship, put the anchor, sail your ship somewhere and drop the anchor again. It's like, this is your opportunity. I tell people, you've never had, maybe since college, where you had that year off where you wanted to travel around. Most people in their lives at this point haven't had freedom, really freedom, since they were kids. And it's like, with all the responsibilities and everything, I said, now's the time, take advantage of it, at least for 1 year or something. There's so many places to see, so many things to do, so much life to experience. And then if you feel like, okay, I want to settle down, then do it. But take advantage of the time, And we don't know, with the world situation the way it is, how many places you can go that now that you might not be able to go in the future.
Well, I think we both have identified, when they talk about things that scare people, way at the top of the list, other than public speaking, is change. And it's like, I thrive on change, and the idea that what you just said, that's the opportunity to change. That's one of the most powerful things any of us can do. The likelihood of us doing it is pretty slim as we get set in our ways, but there's something, where you encourage people to consider coming over here and retiring, where that seems a very exciting idea to people like us who are kind of in motion all the time in the world. That can be really daunting for somebody else, but it was like, I remember the first time I traveled to a foreign country, I was so damn over-prepared, I was a little embarrassed at how easy it was and how exciting it was. And I kind of, there's nothing wrong with being well-prepared. Then forget it, and then go. But to start fresh, to start anew, and this notion that you're not always looking for that one destination to stop. I mean, that can be your goal. Different strokes for different folks, going back some. Whatever you choose as a desirable way to live, it can be found here. And what's your slogan? More life for less money?
Yeah, more life for less money.
Yeah, things you can't do at home or consider at home, you certainly consider here. You have more options if you come over here. And it's usually driven by finances or lack of them or limited finances. That's one of the great bonuses of relocating to Thailand. Permanently or semi-permanently, like I do. I'm in and out. I use Thailand, Chiang Mai as my base, but then I'm here, there, and everywhere. But Chiang Mai is, Thailand itself is kind of a second home for me. So it's just so comfortable, and I think it's great where you can expose this to people and make them see through your eyes how comfortable and how easy it is to make that change.
Yeah, and it's easier now than it was, say, 15 years ago. I mean, to come over here now, I mean, it's just it used to be a leap to come over. It was a real adventure. You had to be a world traveler to do that. Now it's easy. You get off the plane and you can settle in at your guest house, and your coffee shop's right around the corner with your fresh cappuccino and everything. It's pretty easy to do. But to me, that exoticness, it's like, yeah, this is a great base, sort of like the way you show up into Chiang Mai. I sort of live here in Thailand, and then sort of expand around that and say, okay, where is it still got that, for me, I like the edge a little bit, because to me it's that heightened sense of awareness. If it's too easy, my senses get dulled. Sort of like being back in the States where you know where you're going to go buy your food, you know where you're going to do that, and you're sort of on autopilot. And it goes back to my sailing days when I'd be out on the water for a week or something, and all of a sudden you could smell land before you saw it. Your heightened sense of awareness, you knew the weather pattern was changing. All of a sudden, just a breath of air would come over a different shoulder. Something go, oh, what was that? The wind's changing directions. Or you hear you'd be down below and you hear the flap of the sail, and then oh, the wind's changing. Your heightened sense of awareness is being alive. Those are the senses that we were given for a reason, that we sort of packed up and put behind us and say, oh, I don't really need those, and go on autopilot. Where when you step over here, for me, the Chiang Mai area and a lot of Thailand now is sort of like autopilot for me. But for other people, they come over here with a new language, a new culture, and everything. It's like, I think that they really are drawn to that feeling again, like, wow, this is an adventure, and it is. For somebody that's been sitting on a couch or going to work for 30 years, to step off and do something like this is really cool,
But it is, adventure's the right word, I think if you add a little adventure to your life, and I think it's so easy to add adventure, people used to look back, and maybe from their school days, some of the things they read, it's like, people tromping through the jungles and how difficult and how foreign everything was, and what a challenge it was. I mean, the good news and the bad news is everybody can get everywhere on Earth.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
I mean, tourism, I'm not sure, may be the biggest industry on Earth. And boy, if you're a global person like we are, you certainly see evidence of that. I mean, huge tour groups everywhere. I was in Europe some months ago, and I think every tourist in the world was in Rome and Paris. But it was high season at the time. But like you have done, all of a sudden, Chiang Mai becomes a little too familiar, and you want more of a challenge. But you and I are both ocean guys. I grew up on the Pacific Ocean, and we both live in Florida, so there's something wonderful about being near the ocean, that scent, the gulls in the air. It changes the quality of life. So you've moved south to some of the most beautiful beaches in the world, or down in the south of Thailand. But I don't know, it's just, I like the idea of seeing life as an adventure, or the opportunity to adventure, and then to whatever degree you want it, it's theirs for the taking, and it's so much easier to do it in Thailand because it gets back to finances again. Food, transportation, lodging, everything is just still, in this complicated, expensive world, still surprisingly inexpensive based on our frame of reference back in the States.
Right.
So it really is, if you just want to travel, head for Southeast Asia. It's one of the great adventurous bargains in the world.
One of my members, it is funny what you said, because one of my members actually had come over, and he actually was looking to move over, and he got here and we met up, and he actually asked me, he says, where's all the jungle? Because our image of Southeast Asia was basically, from looking at the Vietnam War pictures and the people, the soldiers going through the jungles and stuff like that, and going like, what happened to all the jungle? And in some countries they still have some of that, but here it's basically that's an opportunity to grow coffee. That's an opportunity to to grow food and stuff, and so some of that's changed. But you mentioned, and since we've been doing these videos, that when you come over, you use Chiang Mai as your base of operations and sort of go out from here. I have a question for you. our paths haven't crossed for the last couple of years. You'd say, I'm here and I wasn't in Chiang Mai, and but this time we happened to get together and you're off again here in a few days. But has Chiang Mai, in your opinion, lost any of the charm or anything that it had? How many years have you been coming here now?
Oh man, I think I started up in Thailand the first time in the 70s. But I was gradually reshaping my life to include massive amounts of travel as part of my lifestyle, rather than I hope I can get away for a couple of weeks. And I remember when Chiang Mai was referred to as that charming little city up north. The other thing you heard was it had the most beautiful women in Thailand, and a joke was Thai women didn't like their men to do business up in Chiang Mai. But you know, so much of reputation about a place is just that kind of superficial reputation. But I think both you and I have spent enough time here where we've just seen it, like the wheels are turning every time. There's more people, there's more traffic, there's more business. There's a lot of benefits to that, but then there's a lot of negatives to it too. But you know, it's the same anywhere on earth. My base in the States is Fort Lauderdale. Man, when I moved there, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, it was a charming smaller town. Now it's bigger, the airport's expanded, just like the airport here. That's just life. But that doesn't mean we're trapped, and that doesn't mean everything that's happened is negative. There's obvious reasons. There's a movie about Miami called Miami Rhapsody, and everybody's criticizing Miami all the way through the movie. And the last line in the movie is, if it's so awful here, how come there's so much traffic?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a reason people come here.
Yeah,
but
people complain about
huge changes.
People complain about a lot of stuff, especially, I call it expatitis.
Yeah.
Where they come over and they just nothing but complain. I say, well, why do you? Can I ask you a question? Why do you live here? You know?
Why you live?
You know, it's like, if it's that bad and all these things are problems, then why do you live here? And so, but I just hope, a lot of places I've seen, they sort of kill the goose that lays the golden egg, the charm that people find and why it becomes popular, especially with social media these days, where somebody can put something out there and it just goes viral, you know, that the word gets out really quick about someplace, that I hope that they just don't reap the opportunities so much that it changes what people are coming for, you know.
You know, a good thing about Chiang Mai in any place, in Thailand though, you're talking about the wilderness and how this development encroaches on that. You're never very far from a river. You're never very far from the forest and the mountains. I mean, you know, we're kind of in a bowl here surrounded by these mountain ranges, and once you get on a bus headed any direction out of Chiang Mai, pretty soon you're in the wilderness, and you know,
the farms, that's for sure.
And rice paddies and mountains and all this terrain. And then again, I'll repeat it, being an ocean guy, some of the most beautiful beaches on earth down south. So the variety, it's there. Even though the world's getting more populated and the cities are growing and growing, you still can. That's why I always say I don't really live anywhere. Even in Florida, my base camp is Fort Lauderdale. My base camp in Southeast Asia is Chiang Mai, and I have some in Europe. And it's nice to be living all over the world. What a wonderful experience it is, the variety, and it keeps life interesting. That's what drives me. I'm driven by the fact that life can be routine or boring. So I turn that into a positive. It pushes me to, it doesn't have to be. You know, and people, like, you know, you say, you run into these people that complain. It's like, why are they doing that to themselves? They're destroying their own lives just by a perception of it. There's nothing wrong with life if you don't see it that way, you know?
They can change the story.
That's right. That's right.
I've always said, you know, people that complain to me or say, I don't like this, I don't like that, and it's like, well, why are you experiencing it? Why don't you just change your situation? You change your situation, you can change the experience.
Yeah.
And you're writing the story. You're the author of your own book, you know? You don't like the characters that are around you? Write into the characters. You don't like the location? right in a new location, you know, but
Absolutely.
people don't see it that easy, you know, they sort of limit themselves of what they're capable of doing. I plan on getting over to Vietnam, speaking of traveling. I've never been there before. Have you been over there yet?
Yes, I have. My first experience, probably interestingly enough, when I fell in love with Southeast Asia, I was over there during the Vietnam War. And never dreamed that Southeast Asia would become such an enormous part of my life.
Wow.
And so I came back, but here's the funny thing. People ask me, they said, Jim, you're always in and out of Thailand and Burma and Laos and Cambodia. Aren't you interested in going back to Vietnam? And I hadn't given it any thought, and it occurred to me, I actually spent 13 months in Vietnam under undesirable circumstances. So maybe that had an influence on the desire to go back.
Sure.
So I think it was 1999. I thought, you know what? I'm going to go check it out. Because I love the food.
Yeah.
I like the people, and that's where I fell in love with Southeast Asia anyway. I went back and had the time of my life. I was just amazed. It was like, I don't want to say ant farm. That kind of minimalizes things. The sense of dynamic activity, roads, infrastructure, bridges, airfields, people scurrying, busy, busy, busy. Communist country and a bunch of people who were amateur capitalists saying, yeah, okay, salute the flag, but, you know, they were making progress. It was absolutely dynamic and fascinating. So I spent like about 3 months in the south and started out in Saigon and then traveled down through the Delta. Awesome experience.
Wow.
Land and on water. And then I immediately went back the next year, flew into Saigon, and then I bussed up through Hue and Hue An and all the way up to Hanoi. What a trip that was. It's almost, it really is like two completely different countries. The north and the south. Very different in many, many respects.
Even architecture.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And and up in Hanoi, I stayed in the old classic district, beautiful, and then went out to the islands. Just a dazzling experience. So I spent another 3 months up there, and yeah, I'll go back. And I was just astonished. Then I came out and I said, you know, what anybody's ever thought about Vietnam, pull the chain and forget it. It's
Flush that.
dynamic. That country is doing what we should do in our lives. Keep changing, changing, growing, developing, refining, getting better, you know, getting more interesting too. So you've got a real treat in store for you if you're headed for Vietnam. It's
when was the last time you were over there?
Probably 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
So I'm ready to go back because I know it's going to be different than it was 10 years ago.
Big changes.
Yeah. The good, the bad, and the ugly. You know, the negative
comes
and
with
the
it.
positive.
Yeah, it comes with it.
That's life. That's life. So much, you know, people get annoyed with me because I get so excited talking about travel, and they always say, "Don't get near Jim if you don't want to travel. He'll infect you." But here's one thing. I don't know if you get this. They say, "Okay, man, how about the negative stories?" It's almost if I'm positive, I'm not telling the truth.
That's right. Oh, absolutely.
Foreign.
Absolutely.
And I really
I get these on comments on YouTube.
Yeah. But you know what?
Be real, man. I'm like, just because my real is different than your real, it doesn't make it any less real.
That's right.
This is my reality. No, this is my reality. And I sort of, we've talked about this at breakfast, about all the crazy stuff going on in the world right now. And we have the opportunity or the choice to not let that enter our lives and be an example through something positive, is staying in a positive frame of mind, do the right thing, you know, and don't let the negativity and what's the saying, you know, for evil to exist in the world,
it only requires good people do nothing.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so there's a difference between doing nothing and ignoring it, or doing nothing and doing what you can to change the environment around you.
Well, you know, the one I like, and I think it applies not only in travel, but in life. And I think traveling, you learn things that are universally applicable in life. I believe that, people ask me if I had a good time over there, and I said, I don't go any place to have a bad time. And I believe if you had a bad time, you brought it with you.
That's right.
It's your attitude. You're talking about the negative people, blah, 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 blah. Why would they trash their life like that? It's purely perception.
And they wonder why they get negative stuff coming back to them, or people, oh, nobody treated me nice over there, or I got ripped off, or I got all these bad experiences. And it's like, it could be because you set yourself up for it.
Yeah.
You're really nice and sweet to people. They want to be nice and sweet back. If you're a prick, I hate to say it, but then people want to take extra money from you. People don't want to treat you nice. People would rather see something bad happen to you just so you get what you deserve. You know,
you get back what you give out. I always think of Al Cap, a great cartoonist.
Wow.
He had one character, I forget the guy's name, but he dressed in black and he had a little black cloud over him. And no matter where he went, the cloud went with him. Didn't matter what the climate was, and then he infected anybody he came in contact with. That's how toxic negative people are. I get near a negative person, run like hell. Look for the exits, get out of there. But,
Absolutely.
you know, it is amazing. You know, what's that dumb old joke? The guy goes to the doctor and he says, what's the matter? He says, it hurts when I do this. He said, don't do
it.
Same with negative. It's it's that simple.
Yeah.
Be aware of yourself and what you're giving out. But I don't know. I know people, they don't want to be positive. That's what they do. They're brilliant at negative, and they're masters at it. And they're constantly refining it. And if they weren't pissed off, they'd be miserable.
That's right.
So, I don't know. That's it. That's what makes it all interesting anyway, that we're not all the same and all alike. But we just have so much control over whether our lives are better than they are at any given point. We can make them better by our attitude and by, hey, getting on a plane or a train or a boat and going someplace and freshening things up. Get away from the past. Get you know.
Start new every day.
Yeah.
Wake up, it's a new day. Why not have it a new part of your life, you know? Not carry with you all the old stuff, all baggage and all the old memories and things like that with you and pollute today.
It's so possible. And so many people, how often do you hear, how did it come to this? It ain't over till it's over.
That's right.
You don't like this? Get up and start moving.
If we could offer any advice to anybody through our conversation today, that would be it, you know, is to just move, you know.
Get underway and remarkable things can happen.
Yeah.
And not all good things.
No.
But they're going to be remarkable.
But they'll be learning experiences.
Yeah.
You learn what not to do in life, you know, and so you don't repeat the bad things again, and you move on and try something new, and you get really great experiences from trying. And if you don't try, you're never going to get any experiences. No bad ones, but no good ones as well. You know?
Hey, if you want a way to do it, pay attention to this guy.
Uh-oh, we lost the battery. So yeah, back to what we were saying real quick. We'll sort of wrap this up. But yeah, we really need to keep moving in our lives and not get stagnated. And if somebody's looking for their retirement and they're saying, well, I can do this when this happens, you know, this and this all has to happen. It's like that's one plan. I mentioned this at lunchtime. I think people need to have a plan B, especially the way the world is today, that we can plan out 3 years. Our retirement's in 3 years. My retirement's in 5 years. I'm going to do this, and this, and then when that happens. But have a plan B in your hand. It's like, well, if that doesn't work, that plan somehow you need to be flexible enough to go with it. So maybe have a plan B. I'll have your passport. Don't wait till 3 years from now to get a passport. Have a passport. Have a little bit of cash and things if you needed to bug out. You know, if things did get bad in wherever we live, or the geopolitical environment changes, and you need a place to be able to go where they aren't involved in all that stuff that's going on, then go. Be flexible. Move. Make a move. Don't wait. You know, you can get by. We can always get by. It doesn't take a lot, you know.
There's always options, right?
There's always an option, yeah. And depending on what level of you would need to live at to feel comfortable. I mean, if you actually lowered your needs and became more of a simple life, which a lot of people forgot how to do, it can be really inexpensive to live in a lot of places in the world, not just Thailand, any Southeast Asian country, some Latin countries as well. You know, go in and start living like locals do. You know, locals don't, even a lot of countries now, they all have mobile phones, you know, smartphones and stuff, and now more in Thailand they want a more middle-class lifestyle. But you go to Laos, Cambodia, I haven't been to Vietnam, so I don't know, but you know, a lot of those people, they're just happy with having social interactions with their friends. You know, it's that story of the fisherman, where the guy comes and the businessman sees a fisherman come in at noon, says, wow, if you worked longer, you'd have more fish. You can get another boat, get another fisherman, and then you maybe even get a bunch of boats and create a plant where you can, you know, process a lot of fish, make a lot of money. Then maybe somebody will come in and buy it, and you'll be able to have free time. And it's like, well, why do I want to do that? And it's like, well, you have more time with your family. You have more time to play music. You love to play music. But I do all that now by stopping work at 12 o'clock. You know?
Yeah, that's a trap. I think a lot of us in the developed countries in the world, we place too much emphasis on finances. How are you doing always means kind of how much money do you make or do you have. And I learned there are jobs I've quit with no source of income in mind immediately following that, or stepping down to less income. The reaction was, what are you, crazy? You're supposed to, if you
You're
make
supposed to go up the ladder.
Up, more money, more money, more money. Money, how much you're making is a register of how you're doing, but it's only one of many. And I'm perfectly comfortable with being in a situation where I have access to less money, but more life.
Yeah.
Something more interesting, more challenging in some ways. And I don't mean like some big ordeal. Challenges to walk out the front door, and the sights, the scents, all that are different. I find that really exciting. I really like that. That's worth more than money.
Well, my MO has always been, it's like, well, if I worked all year and I had a 2-week vacation, and I spent the money that I worked for that vacation, what would happen if I actually just lived that lifestyle to start with? I wouldn't need to make all the money to pay for it, you know, because it'd be my lifestyle, and do it that way. And so I don't have a lot of money coming in, but if I did, this is what I would be doing with it. So I don't need all the money coming in.
Making choices for your own life. I mean, I've always loved the ocean, and coming from California, it was like, I don't think I'm ever going to be focused enough to make that kind of money to live at the ocean, so that's okay. Then I got to Florida and saw how affordable it was. Instead of taking every minute I had free and racing to the ocean for a weekend or a week or 2 weeks, I live there now. It's less expensive to do that. It's exactly implementing what you just said. It's just so possible, so doable. You know, sit down, and it's like, if you want to be a success, sit down, get back in touch with yourself and say, what makes me happy? What do I like?
Oh, I've asked people that question, Jim, and they can't answer it.
I know. They
really can't answer it. I don't know.
They're being pushed around by what's considered success. Outside of them, not inside them. What makes you happy is the one.
I mean, even if you believe in manifestation, if something's going to come into your life because you focus on it. If you're focusing on, I don't know, you know what's going to come into your life? Nothing.
Yeah.
You know, you're not putting anything out there to the universe to say, can you bring opportunities for me to have this into my life? It's like, what do you want? You know, think about it, because a lot of that stuff can, you know, the opportunities will come across your path where it'll make those things happen, you know?
Well, you and I are excellent examples of a really high score in that respect, drifting into some amazing personal relationships in our lives. You know, and it's like, hey, never quit, never give up. Always have that open attitude about the abundance of life. I mean, most people shut life out. They don't make it accessible to themselves. Don't do that.
Yeah, right.
Keep it open.
That's that thing about they've been burned and hurt, and they don't want to repeat the same thing again, thinking, well, A plus B equals C every time. And it's like, I just went through this with comments on YouTube. It's like somebody said something about relationships, and they have these rules, and they'll never do this, and they'll never get in a relationship. And I said, you find the right person, they come into your life. all these rules, forget about them.
Be open. Just be open to it.
Yeah, you're going to want to give to that person and have a life with them because they coincide with your life. You know, it's a symbiotic relationship with.
And you allow it to happen.
Sure, you have to.
Yeah,
you have
you
to be open to it.
Manufacture it, but you can.
And
allow
the
it
harder
to
you
happen.
try to make that happen, the harder it is to get it.
Yeah, yeah. That's a tough one, I think, in most people's lives. You know, one is retirement or how they're going to spend their life and the enjoyment of life itself. But then, you know, personal relationships and all, good friends and, you know, that, I don't know, and so many different ways of saying it. You know, that one other person that fills a void that nothing else fills. You can't ever give up on any of that. You know, it ain't over till it's over and anything's possible. And I think you and I are absolute proof of that. You know, it's not over. Keep life accessible to you and every level of life. And it can, you know what, the best is yet to come. That's what's in my mind. I kind of insist on it. Who the hell am I to do it? But why not?
Well, there's so much I want to do. There's so much left that I want to experience it. This is the part about aging that I probably hate the most, is that I feel like, wow, am I going to have enough time to do all these things and experience all this stuff I want to experience? Because it seems like the older I get, the faster it's going by. And there's just so much to take in.
Well,
you know?
the lesson to learn from that, and maybe we've known that all along, is don't put everything you want to do until the end. I mean, when I was a young guy and I'm traveling in Europe and I see this bus pull up and all these people on strollers get off, and it's like, they waited too long. They're doing it. Good for them. And it's difficult for them to do it, but they're doing it. So I pat them on the back there. I think that's great. You're doing it. But I learned from that, it's like, sit down and find out what makes you... You know, the only thing I ever knew ever for certain in my life was I wanted to see the world. Well, I live in the world. It's doable. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And
it's funny that most people don't. They live in the world, even in the world around them. They become so complacent, they don't live in the world.
Isolation, yeah.
Well, they're so busy thinking about their future and how they're going to make that, that they miss the present, and the present's the gift. We don't know there's going to be a future, you know? You got to take what you have today. And going back to what you just said, when I was younger, I guess I was about 20, 21 years old, I had bought this gaff rig yawl. It was only like 28 feet. It was made by a guy by the name of, designed by Thomas Fleming Day, and it was a cruiser. You could go around the world in this little thing. But it was a yawl with gaff rigs, the old type sails with the wooden spars, you know. And I remember cruising along out in the Gulf of Mexico, and I would have older gentlemen come up on really nice, you know, sailboats that were 100 times more expensive than mine. And they would come and they would sail alongside us. Of course, there's no engine or anything, so we're just cruising along, and you see this guy, and people would always look at the boat because it was so unique. And they'd come along, and then they'd give me that thumbs up. And then a couple of them would get close enough, and they would say something like, I sure wish I had done this when I was your age.
Oh, man.
And it's like that kind of stuff stuck in my brain, you know? It's like, they were looking at my life at that age, doing what they're doing now in retirement, and only have so many years left, and saying, yeah, I wish I had done this at your age, you know? And so I've always not put off to the future because of that, you know? It's like, okay, do it while you're young. I just went through this with my member site about when are you going to take Social Security. I did a poll, because you can start at 62, you can get 100% at 66, or 120 or 132% or something at 70, and it's like, how much would you have in your pocket if you started? Yeah, you have less, but if you don't need more to live the life that you want to live, why would you wait? You know, why not take it and start living the life that you want to live? Because I think even at minimum you'd have 72,000. I forget how much it is over 5 years of having waited. All that money would have been in your pocket. All those experiences. Now you got to start over at 60, at 65. And it takes years to even get caught up with the same amount of money you would already have had.
And gambling that you're going to be around during those years.
And then you're going to be able to get around. Yeah, good shape. That's right. Yeah. So to me, it's like, don't wait.
Be in life now.
Yeah,
always. Now is always
You'll work
the right
it out.
time.
You'll work it out. So you only have less. I see people who come over here and they thought they were going to have to wait. And then they come over for an exploratory mission. And they come over and go back and say, I don't need to wait. I can do this now.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to take me, you know, $2,000 a month, but I can live here for $1,000 a month.
Well, you show people how easy it can be.
Yeah.
That's a real benefit, because most people fear the unknown, and because they don't know, because of their ignorance, it overwhelms them. And it's like, oh man, I'd love to do that. I get this all the time. Man, I'd love to do that, but I'd love to do that, but get off your butt and go do it.
There's a lot of
just
buts.
simple, you know. But that's a wonderful service you provide. You show people in a very entertaining way how they can do this. It's just so doable, you know. You know, the world is a tiny place, and it's not that foreign.
Well, I'm just so worried about people and, you know, how their lifestyle is going to be. Things have gotten more expensive and more uncertain in the United States and in most Western countries. So when they look at retirement, it's like, what kind of lifestyle are they going to have when all of a sudden they cut back that income and they have a fixed monthly budget? It's like they got to look and say, you know, what would my life be like if I have to live off this where I am now? And if they have a great lifestyle off that much money, travel on vacation and go see some places, you know, and enjoy life and live where you're at. But for some people, I look and go, they're not going to have any lifestyle. They're going to sit there and watch, you know, the television. That's going to be their form of entertainment.
Those are the people I take out my wallet and say, sell me a couple of your years. I can use them. You're not using them.
Yeah,
you know?
You're not using them.
Because, you know, this is precious, and it takes a little while of life and some mistakes and, you know, just the drudge life can be from time to time, and some failures, we win, we lose, all that stuff. But pretty soon we get the idea, hey man, this is a precious set of circumstances, and I think we're the only animal that knows we're not going, we don't get out alive. That's a handy piece of information. So,
yeah, it is.
Do with it.
Yeah, it is.
Use it. You know, don't repeat the same mistakes. That's the first thing we can learn, which will improve life enormously.
Absolutely.
You know, and don't be, you know, don't be your worst enemy. And then sit down and get back in touch with yourself and say, hey, with all my experience now, I know I can make a list of what I don't want in my life. Get rid of that stuff, and then it gets simpler and simpler.
But don't focus on what you don't want.
That's right.
You know?
What
know what it is
happy?
and move away from it. Just stay away from it, you know? But it's like Lennon said, you know, John Lennon said, life's what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. If it's all about your future and planning for it and you forget today, enjoy the process of moving on, you know? It's
he
like,
said another great thing. He was in school and the teacher said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he said, happy. And she said, you don't understand the question. He said, you don't understand life. Talk about a philosopher.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that showed up in the song lyrics and all, but that's powerful stuff.
It is. Yeah.
You know, and that's, I'm always saying, you know, happy is way better than money. Sometimes it's either or, you know, and the idea that you only equate success or happiness with money and how much you're making, you're being your enemy. You're restricting your choices and how you perceive anything. And, you know, the best things in life aren't free, but the best things in life don't cost that much either. And it gets back to one of those old phrases. I always pay attention to conventional wisdom. It's a good gear to do exactly the opposite of that. You know, it's kind of play it safe, don't do this, don't do that, and, you know, approach life wisely. That's good. I mean, you know, hopefully we get a little smarter.
We got to use logic sometime or we'll never make it home.
That's right. We have to be, yeah. We're as good as what we know. You know, get smart, be reasonable, but you get to a point where you have enough experience to say, you know what, I'm gonna. You know, one of my definitions of a human being is somebody who can be counted on to make things more complicated than they have to be. It's a guarantee, you know. I got to watch out for that all the time. But
overthinking
simpler,
stuff.
It's a lot simpler, and the more we head towards simplicity, keep it simple, wait a minute, stop, this is getting overwhelming, stop, go back to it, and just keep it simple.
You got to just be flexible, you know, have a set of beliefs that allow you to take action, move, keep moving, and as things change, be dynamic enough to move with the change, you know, and say, okay, this isn't working anymore, it's time to move in a different direction a little bit, and be able to do that. And but I mean, for anybody that's watching this, if they have the ability to watch you and I have this conversation, they need to know that the odds of them putting their life, if it was a card, back in the deck and reshuffling and get a better card, are not in their favor.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the population of the world and where most people live, for them to even have the opportunity to be watching this means you have the opportunity, they've been given a gift in this lifetime. Don't waste it.
That's right, man. Yeah.
And to think, oh, it could be better. I wish I, you know, if you have the opportunity, if you actually can get up in the morning, having been in a house, a structure to sleep in, and you have water to eat, to drink, and food to eat.
Don't whine.
And you're able to watch a video means you have internet. Or I mean, this is a life that's better than the majority of people around the world.
One thing I like too, Aung San Suu Kyi from Burma, talking to her own people, she said, "Don't you dare be a spectator in your own life."
Oh, lovely.
Great.
We ought to end on that note. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Don't be a spectator in your own life. Awesome.
You're not.
No, and neither are you. It's been a pleasure, Jim.
Always.
Yeah, we always have great conversations. I've always looked forward to them. And for the last couple of years, you would be up here and I wouldn't be, and we would just next time. Well, this was next time. So.
Well, I'm already looking forward to our next conversation.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have a lot of other experiences to share.
We will have made a lot more mistakes and had a lot more wins also.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, I want to thank Jim for joining me again, and thanks for watching, and appreciate it, and keep those comments coming, and remember, when it comes to experiencing life, there's
always
an option. That's right, always an option.
You want to swing the camera around and show our beautiful
are doing the camera work? My crew? Yeah. They get to see the crew.
JC has a crew now.
Yeah, my minimal crew. But crew nonetheless. But yeah, no, they get to experience every once in a while. You know, it's how people, we mentioned this earlier in the conversation, how some people focus on negative stuff. The reason I don't show her more often is when I show her, it's like the comments that come, the negative comments, the derogatory. Yeah, well,
like what would be?
Well, I'm living in Thailand. Here's this pretty young woman with me. What's the first thing that comes to the negative people's minds? How much did you pay for her?
Oh man,
Isn't that sad? Isn't that sad? And so instead of the people being able to enjoy the presence of her being in videos and stuff, I just protect her from that kind of stuff and don't put her in front of the camera. And it's a shame, but it's one of those things. It's like you just got to be adaptable. I would love for, you know, to show as a couple doing stuff, you know, and things like that, because we have an incredible lifestyle. We have so much fun every day.
That's an interesting aspect. Couples in Thailand.
Yeah, I mean, because we have an incredible life. I mean, I'm gifted to have a person so incredible in my life, and to have the life that I have, and to be able to share that with people would be really cool. But negative people out there keep me from putting her into that focus of that negativity. So.
What a drag, man. What a drag.
So they gotta put up
off the good humor, man.
Yeah, so they gotta put up with my mug more often. You know?
But I understand what you're saying, man. That's sad.
Now my members see her all the time.
Yeah.
And her daughter, gorgeous little daughter.
Yeah.
So they get to see that. They get to see a lot of stuff that people on YouTube don't.
Yeah.
But they're a finite group of people that are just incredible. I have incredible members of my member site. Again, I'm blessed to have such a wonderful group of people. So anyway, but there you go. Hope you've enjoyed our conversation. It's been entertaining, I'm sure, as usual. Hopefully you learned a little something, and you got a little peek into our brains, opening up and saying, what's going on inside those guys?
Yikes.
Yeah, it's scary, isn't it? Anyway, take care. Thanks. JC and Jim out. See ya.